Hi, Chris.
Hello, Christina. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday before the holiday of American Thanksgiving. And I want to say American Thanksgiving just in case you're not in America. It's
And
American Thanksgiving this week.
it was Canadian last week.
Last week? I
Thought
thought it was
so.
last month.
It was last something, but it happened before.
Yeah, it's already happened, that's for sure. And
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
I already saw an article where COVID has spiked because of the holiday too.
Yes. We can talk about all of these things.
Yes.
So full disclosure, California is going in lockdown, right? If we're not already. I live in San Luis Obispo, California, with my wife and my son. And we live in San Luis Obispo County. It's a little bit more spread out and less dense here. And we will be traveling to LA County tomorrow. What's going on in LA County?
LA County 2 days ago said that they were closing all the restaurants, even for outdoor dining, which with Southern California weather, it's actually been a blessing to have the ability to go outside pretty much anytime and not be like be scared of rain and set up in parking lots and street corners on sidewalks in one of the lanes of the street, which is happening here in Long Beach. So, but yeah, they're even closing that. And this is due to the spike of COVID, but also that there is a holiday season upon us. And so I guess the intention behind it is to stop people from spreading it in like restaurants or hanging out in groups because I did see an article that said COVID spikes have been traced to gatherings, like social gatherings. So I guess that's what they're trying to do.
Well, when I look at the map of where and call them infestations are, it's the coldest states in the US, right? It has nothing to do necessarily with the upper Northeast down to Florida, but Texas, West Coast are all yellow, right? And this is the states, it doesn't isolate by county, but it's like blood orange red, in the colder states. And so I think
Oh,
the blessing that we've had being in California, where we've self-selected to be here, is that the outdoors is always available to us. Hudson and I just finished a CrossFit class where there was probably 15 people lined up 6 to 10 feet apart outside, just doing the work. And I feel comfortable doing that. We still have to take care of ourselves, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and have some sense of community. And frankly, doing an intense workout with a mask on is probably good for oxygen training too.
and you were outdoors, and you don't
And
live in
this
LA County.
motherfucker climbed a rope like for the first time in I don't know how long.
Whoa, ninja!
It was all because Hudson told me I couldn't. He's like, you can't climb a
Oh
rope.
yeah,
And I'm like,
well,
oh. Like,
that's that's the first way to get anyone to do anything.
tell me that I can't do something. And mhm. So it's
Watch me
been
do it.
interesting. We moved up here. I guess there was indirectly because of COVID and coronavirus. We lived in Santa Monica for 4 years, and we had a beautiful house, backyard, lovely neighbors, great community, great friends. And what we had wanted to do, Meredith and I, was redo the backyard. So this is post lockdown, pre Breonna Taylor, pre
Okay,
BLM, right? So we have this little, like, oh, there's a
like
lockdown.
Mayish, Aprilish.
Yes, that's exactly right. So we called George, our landlord. This is the house that he raised his family on or in. And he's like, well, he's like, I wouldn't do anything because we wanted to resod the backyard with the dogs that torn it up, move some trees around, just make an investment because we love hosting and we love having people over. We love creating space, throwing down some rugs and having journeys or doing work. And it was a great gathering place for people to be able to come together outside without putting anyone at risk. It's like, well, I wouldn't do that. I'm thinking about moving my kids back for college. We were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Now, Santa Monica is under rent control. Our rent was just shy of $5,000 a month. And it sounds like a lot, but not so much for Santa Monica.
No,
And
that's a steal if you got a backyard, man.
I know
Did you
exactly.
have parking?
And we had a garage with room for 3 cars, tree house, the whole thing.
5,000 a month, that's nothing for all
Nothing.
of that. Nope. Wow, that's a gem.
Yes. And so with the uncertainty around COVID and coronavirus, particularly in terms of income, right? So, I run a sales team in the Americas for a Series A startup out of San Francisco. And like, okay, who knows if we're even going to sell any software, if we're going to lay people off. It was just like, we're going to start throwing ballast off the boat and make sure that we are good. Because one of the things that causes anxiety for Meredith is money, always, no matter how much we make, right? And it's always been something that she had been focused on. So wanting to get ahead of that, like we can't stay in Santa Monica for $5,000 a month when we have a kid at home, right, who's going to school. I have a wife who's teaching yoga from home, and there's just not enough room in this house for me to be able to work. So went up. I don't know if I told you this story or not. And so we're out walking around, and she's like, "Well, where are we gonna move?" I'm like, "Well, we're already leaving Santa Monica." She's like, "What? You never told me this." I'm like, "Oh yeah, like this is like we can't afford to stay here." We didn't talk about it. I just assumed that like staying in Santa Monica and having the lifestyle that we wanted was a non-starter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a bit of a shell shock. And she's like, "Well, I've always wanted to go north." I was like, "Well, I've always wanted to go south." And so I went up in the treehouse and went into the records, and like San Luis Obispo came in, right? And it's like, well, I came down. I was like, "Okay, we're going to San Luis Obispo." She's like, "All right." So we had 6 weeks to find a place to get Hudson registered for school, and here we are, living in a condo and a lovely neighbors, but this is nowhere near any way that we want to like settle in. So there's the lessons that, why are we here? Why are we being called here? And how do we use this staycation in Central Coast as a way to galvanize ourselves as a family, to do work on ourselves, and to really be present. Now, I'm sharing this because of the indirect ramifications of coronavirus and COVID, and then us going back to LA County this week and this weekend to spend time with friends, to look at some houses, not to buy. I'm not. There's no way in hell I'm going to spend $3-4 million on a house. Not at 47 years old. It just doesn't make sense to do it there. And largely the reason is that when I think of Santa Monica, I think of my friends, community, but it's also very dense. And one of the things I've come to remember how much I appreciated was being able to walk outside at night and look up and see stars, to see the hawks flying over, to go into the foothills and go for a jogging hike and not see anybody for an hour. This opportunity to reconnect with myself through nature has been a huge blessing. And Meredith has done a lot of work on herself. And Hudson, he won't admit it, but he's had a chance to experience other things that he'd never done before. We went horseback riding on Sunday up in Paso Robles. I'd never been on a horse, and we just got on the horse and went. So we're on the horse and we're trucking along, and I've never been on a horse. I've been pulled by a horse in like carriages and stuff like that, but I'm sitting there on Larry, and I hear here comes Hudson just spotting, right? It just pulls up. I'm like, wow, he's like pulling on the reins. That was a really cool thing. Um, so it's been interesting, and I've had half of my team has been out or suffering from COVID. One's in Europe, and another one's in San Francisco. And so I've been doing double work and making sure that they feel supported and they have what they need while keeping things moving along for them. And it's just been intense. So even though I don't have it and I haven't had it, and I don't think I'm going to get it, though I may, it has ramifications, or it's affected everyone at just different levels, whether it's energetically or monetarily or locationally or any of these other things. So it'll be interesting to go back down to Santa Monica with what, September, October, roughly 2.5 to 3 months of not being there, and just see how it feels and what sits, and how we take what we've learned from being in Central Coast, and coming together as a unit, and how does it all feel over back down there. I'm really interested in that.
Wow. No, I totally want to hear about it when you do go down there, because I think there'll be a lot of nostalgia. And I haven't been north of Long Beach to Santa Monica since the pandemic. The last time I was in LA proper, or downtown LA. I mean, there's so many areas of LA, right? They're all just a bunch of neighborhoods, but I think it was February.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
yeah, I haven't even seen downtown. I haven't been north of Long Beach. I've been south because that's where I work, but I've been into Orange County. I'm in Long Beach, by the way, which is LA County, right at the southern area, the southern tip. And I live like not even a mile from the Orange County line, maybe 2 miles. So I'm right there at the cusp.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I told you, Chris, but my brother had COVID.
You did not tell me that.
And this is very recent. This is a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
So my brother has autism, so it does interfere with how he interacts with the world. And he's very high functioning, but still, you have to remember that when I tell the story. So it was a Sunday, maybe 2 or 3 Sundays ago, and my sister, who's a neighbor of my mom and my brother, my mom and my brother live together. My sister, her husband, and her son, my nephew, who is in first or second grade, I can't remember. They came over to their house for a cookout. And up until this point, they've been very careful. My
Mhm.
sister and my brother-in-law do work out of the house, like they work outside of the house. My mother's retired and my brother does not work and because of his disability. Up until this point, everybody's been pretty careful. Now it's Tennessee, and I don't know how the atmosphere is right now. I know that it was a lot more lax than here in California for us folk, that's for sure. A lot more lax. Well, it had started to spike. Well, guess what? My sister saw my brother coughing and hacking away. And my sister said to my mom, "Have you noticed that he's coughing?" And my mom was like, "No." So they asked him about it, and he was like, "No, no, no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And remember, he does have autism, so it affects how he views the world. And I think that there was a denial about it, or maybe a wishful thinking that he had. And so my sister was alarmed, my mom was alarmed. They took his temperature, and sure enough, he had a fever. And that was a Sunday. The next day, Monday, he lost his sense of smell and taste. And they took him for a test Monday night. And by Friday, they got word that he was positive. So now, something about my brother. This is a little bit frightening to say this, but if anyone in my family were to get COVID, anyone, I would not put my money on him because he has autism. He doesn't drive. He lives in rural Tennessee. He's kind of reclusive. Like he doesn't go out much. Even my mom goes out a lot more than he does. I mean, she's the driver of the house and she's the one that does the errands. So he got it from just going out of the house with my mom to do some errands.
Oh,
And so he's not doing anything wrong. He had a face mask and somehow it happened to him. I mean, I would have thought that I would have gotten it before him. I mean, I live in California. I'm working. I have to shop for myself. I'm single. I don't live with anybody. I have to do errands all the time. And this was like one of the first infestations of the coronavirus was here in California and New York, right? So I would have thought that I would have had some scares by now. I have not. I've been very lucky, knock on wood. So my mom did not get tested. She did not have any symptoms. My sister went to get tested. And at this point in Tennessee, my sister told me, she said, they ask you if you have symptoms, and if you say no, you get turned away from the test. So everywhere is different because in California, anybody can take a test. And I think we have several
Right.
different kinds.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So that's what I told my mom. I was like, Mom, why don't you lie and say you're not feeling good and get a test? You're living with someone with COVID.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty good reason to take a test. She didn't do it because she didn't feel any symptoms. My sister took a test, negative. My nephew took a test, negative, and my brother-in-law took a test, negative. So I'm pretty sure my mom is negative as well, even though it's not confirmed. But yeah.
Do you think so? When this first happened in March and April, and so pre-COVID, I would travel like every other week minimally. I was somewhere on an airplane, international, across the U.S. So I've always been as that people are gross in terms of their hygiene, right? Particularly when you're on airplanes and not washing their hands. This is just, I'm pretty neurotic about wiping things down, and I would use hand sanitizer even though they said it wasn't, it had no efficacy. Um,
Airplanes are so gross. I agree with you. I've been on enough of them to know they're nasty. Or in the past, I've been on one lately.
right. So when I knew that this was coming, it was end of February, so it was in Italy largely, and I was going to meet my son Zachary in Detroit to go see a Sturgill Simpson concert. So he came in from Italy, and I was coming in from LA, and then from there I was going to Las Vegas for a work event for a couple of days, and then going home. And so he made it because they just locked down Italy like 2 days later, right? So he met me in Detroit. We had a great time. Got on a plane. Went. It turned out that Sturgill Simpson got COVID, right? And so the tour had ended, but he had gotten sick when it was ending.
Oh, wow.
And so I get back home, and I was like, well, we kind of dodged a bullet. It'll be the last time I'm on an airplane for a little while. McCarran was largely empty already. People that travel was just kind of cut in half. And I was like, huh, I don't think I'm going to get it. Like, I just didn't feel like I would get COVID. And not because of a neurotic behavior and washing my hands and not touching door handles or kicking the street signs, in Santa
I've
Monica.
seen it all. Yep.
Yeah, but I was doing that before COVID.
Oh.
Elbows, like I wouldn't touch anything anywhere, and I just didn't feel like I was going to get it. I still don't feel like I'm going to get it, and it's okay if I do, right? I don't want to. I'm not walking around without a mask. When I wear a mask, it's as much about me as it is about anyone else. I don't, if I happen to be carrying it and not symptomatic, I don't want to get anyone else sick. But it feels to me like there's something around the epigenetics as well, and your own biome and how you curate your own energetic self. Now I've seen, and this is anecdotal, but I've seen where if you're low on vitamin D, you're more susceptible to it. Right? There are certain things that they're finding out in terms of your own personal makeup, right, or lack of things. So it's funny that you and I talked about that a couple of days ago. How when there's less of certain nutrients that you're more prone to catching it. But when we look at it from an Akashic perspective, or more said differently, when we look at it from a more spiritual perspective, you and I haven't talked about this, and I would be really interested in
Yeah.
getting your opinion, because when this happened back in April, like, wow, this is a teacher. And my thinking was particularly, this is pre-election and everything else, and the separateness. And so then to watch something in a matter of weeks, days, go from Wuhan, China to northern Italy and spread, it demonstrably shattered this illusion of separateness. Like if you think that what happens over here does not affect you over here, here's proof, right? And that we are all connected.
Good point.
And that doesn't mean I'm not going to get it. Maybe it was just like phase one or whatever. I don't feel like I chose to learn this particular lesson. So if I view COVID as being like a divine teacher or an opportunity to learn something about myself, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. Now this is again all pre Breonna Taylor BLM. This is just through the coronavirus lens and this forced slowdown. I'd love to get your perspective on coronavirus or COVID. So again, through that lens and when it was coming or when it happened first. And then also maybe talk through some of the things that you've learned about yourself and others from a slightly, just from your perspective.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, before anyone makes the joke or the assumption, no, the psychic medium did not see it coming. And I think that I was not interested in going in the records of the virus. I did ask some questions in my own records about it at the very beginning. But I'm kind of the personality that I let things happen because this is bigger than me. It's not like I have any control over it, really. I have control over myself within this space, within what has been presented to me, but I don't have any control of it over it. So I think for my own mental health, I really am not interested in knowing. I don't like to know what's going to happen. I like to live.
Mhm.
So with that said, I personally, as a human, did have a lot of reaction at first. I had the same reaction as Karens who don't like to wear masks now. Like I really went through it. And this
Yeah.
is what, mid-March and April. I just refused to stand in line at a supermarket to go in. So I'm not going to. I couldn't believe everyone's panic buying. Nothing was on the shelves. I was just like, ugh. And, then we all had to start wearing masks. I don't know about the rest of the country, but I think California, we've been wearing masks since like March or April consistently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's been the case in a lot of other places. But at
No.
first, I was like, man, I don't want to wear a mask. Why should I wear a mask? Freedom. Yeah. It was all because I'm very human. And I felt very threatened by this different shift in the environment. Like, where am I living? What's happening? But it was happening everywhere. From an Akashic standpoint, it's definitely a teacher. And I say that with caution because there are people who have lost lives, and I'm very careful to comment on something like that hasn't affected me in a death. I mean, I know of some people who know some people who have passed away from COVID, and it's terrible. And I like to be very sympathetic and very respectful of it. So I don't want to say anything about, oh, were they destined to die from it? Were they contracted to do that? I don't want to say that because I think that's not the time. But from my perspective, I do think this is a teacher to go inward because look at all of us. We're all spending more time with ourselves. And yeah, we're getting antsy, that's for sure. But we've all learned a lot. And a lot of people that I know, including myself, and I don't know, I'm going to ask you in a minute, but a lot of people have had a lot of their own shifts, whether it be divorce or whether it be time for passion projects that have completely changed their reality and made things look even better in their lives. I mean, there's one person I know that picked up an instrument. You see on TikTok all the time people who decided to get healthy
Mhm.
and various other goals. So it really did, in a positive sense, slow down a lot of people's lives for them to experience something different,
Yeah.
right? And I think that COVID, I actually said I thought that COVID wouldn't be around as long as it has been.
Mm.
And I even asked the records that, and the records kind of said, 6 to 8 weeks, right? And so I haven't gone back in to say what the crap, like what's happening here. I haven't like confronted any information or asked
Mm.
why it's still happening. But if I'm really honest, I think that I'm riding the wave of social change because there's a lot happening out there, really. We just elected a new president that's coming up in January. There's BLM. There are there are a lot of things, big and small, that are happening. And for my own mental health and sanity, I really am just riding the wave. And I'm waiting because I know this won't be around forever. And I'm just waiting for the collective sigh of relief. Now, the first time we were all in like lockdown, right? That was pretty like harsh. Everything closed, you know, restaurants, your way of life was just completely changed in a couple of days, where everything was not possible at all. And you were at your house and you were full of fear. I was too. Worried like, oh no, I just coughed. Maybe I have coronavirus. Did you go through that?
Oh yes, and I still take my temperature a couple times a day.
Oh, well, at the mental health place
Yeah.
where I'm going every day, we have to do that every day to come in. So,
Yep.
um, and once, fun fact, once I got there and I was like 91.6, and I was like, I think it's breaking. I think it had to do with I walked there and the sweat really cools you off,
Uh,
like the condensation. So they were like, that's probably okay.
hmm.
Otherwise, you would no longer be with us, Christina. So yeah, I mean, I went through the period of like, oh no, I think I have COVID. Some of my neighbors did get COVID, that's for sure, and they came out of it just fine, no hospitalization needed. But yeah, it's still going on, and I really at this point have no opinion on anyone who wants to wear their mask, who doesn't want to wear their mask. I'm just accepting it. Just accepting that's just the way it is. And I'm making my choices. I can't control others. I can't control this COVID. I can't control the fact that I can't travel. I'm wired for traveling. I'm ready to go. I was actually supposed to be in Singapore for the new year. I was supposed to be in New York for Thanksgiving.
Mm.
I booked my ticket at the end of summer at a huge discount because the airlines are desperate for your money,
Right.
with the option that I could change and not be, charged a fee for that. And a week before I was supposed to leave, I called it. And even my grandmother in New York agreed. And this grandmother I haven't seen, it's my father's mother. I haven't seen her since he passed away. So it would have been a great opportunity to see her, and it would have been very emotional, but I decided not to go, and she completely understood, and she's in her 80s and she even is very, very careful. But she herself is very torn on what's happening because she's definitely being careful for herself, but a part of her doesn't want to believe that it's real.
Mhm.
But then she knows she's smarter than to drop her guard about it and start just living you know, with doing whatever she wants without being cautious. So, she's also very torn about it. So, yeah, it stinks, but this is the way it is. I accept it. It makes me feel better to accept it and to live life within the circumstances that I've been dealt with. currently. What about you, Chris?
It's very zen. Um, I've slowed down a lot.
Hmm.
And some of that's, of course, COVID related. Some of it is just the tempo of being in Central Coast, California. A lot of it has to do with Kingston, our pit bull rescue, who is impervious to COVID and everything else that's going on. When he wants to stop and watch a cat or sit in the middle of the street and wait for this car to pull up so he can get, his pets, people will stop and say, he's so cute. Um, he's been a great teacher for me as well. And if I'm like rushing or really have a few minutes to get a walk in because I'm in between phone calls for work or something like that, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
No.
It's a good thing about dogs. They know what's
Yeah.
important.
No, I didn't realize it got as cold here as it does. I got up the other morning, it was 36 degrees.
You keep that up there.
Uh, well, I mean, Santa Monica is not a lot different, right? In Santa
Yeah.
Monica, in the upper 30s, lower 40s too. So um, the slowing down is a lesson that I will take with me, and this connection to space and place. Meredith is more connection and community. I'm I would be really, really, really happy with like 20 acres, a couple of horses, a chicken coop, and a place to grow some mushrooms. I'll check out. Like
There you
that's,
go.
well, now I say that, but whenever I'm around people is when I get super energized, right? And it's like, wow, I should do this more often. Like this ability to connect and spend time and just be present and enjoy and have fun is so important. So the not taking things so goddamn seriously. I don't care if I'm executive platinum next year, right? In the grand scheme of things, does it really matter if I have that status?
I want
No.
that status. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to mind fuck myself here.
Okay,
Uh,
I mean, yeah, that's logical.
right, right. And I'm sure and I know that I'll be back on planes, at some point, and whether it's commercial or not commercial, it almost doesn't matter. But I didn't want to waste the opportunity or this forced slowdown and not spend time working on myself. Now, at one point, I had a pretty robust Instagram following, right? I was hustling and making that work, and like 30,000 followers, and it was coming along, and it was with an investment, right? So I mean, you're paying to play, and you're connecting and having conversations, and um, I just don't give a shit about social media anymore. I have zero fucks for any of it. I really don't. It's like, like, am I that? I want to be careful when I say this because I don't want to take away from what people do.
Yeah.
But it's like, am I really that self-important to where Chris McCann, no one else, um, feels like I have to put every thought out there? And so that slowed down pre-BLM, post-pandemic, or at the beginning of it. And then um, one of the members of this men's group that we had in Santa Monica, his name was Mitch, African American fella, great kid, had his car broken into and all this stuff stolen. Right, so he's a musician, so his laptops are gone, equipment,
Oh,
phone, everything else. And it's like, this is great. This is why we have networks. This is why we have a social media network. And like, we're gonna rally. We're gonna help this guy. He's got a GoFundMe page. He's gonna get started. And I put something out there on Instagram, a few different posts, and linked to it, and got them all set up. And nothing, not zero. Like, I was like, what is the point or the purpose in having this network if I can't actually turn it on to help?
wow.
Right?
Good
Yeah.
point.
And it's like, okay, so I mean, I'm investing time, efforts, and energy into sustaining something that is completely empty of any meaning for myself in this community that I've created. So then I forced myself over the pandemic and post BLM to, or not, well, post, but like after that happened, to then go through one by one across 30,000 people and remove them manually. And I wanted to make it as painful as possible.
Wow.
Yeah, because I am Catholic and it's, and it makes sense and it's really on brand for being Catholic to punish yourself for these things. So, but I did. I went through and just completely eviscerated it, and it's down to like 2,000 people. And I'll use it, right? But not for the reasons why I used it before. And a lot of that's just going to go on LinkedIn, and that's a different audience. But authenticity and integrity um, became even more important, and particularly how do we use these tools that are available to us to really connect with people and be of service. And I still don't have all that figured out as to what I want that to look like, but that was one huge takeaway for me, and that's why the name The Real Chris McCann exists. Not because it's like the one and only, but it's when I see that it's forced accountability, and that it has to be maybe not raw, but it has to be authentic, and it has to be me, and it has to come from here and not here, right? And so that's the measuring stick there. Now, during that, so through this, we also spent time in Southern California at the retreat and connecting with people in that way, and having other experiences with plant-based medicine. And that then reaffirmed this connection to nature. And I kid you not, it's been hard to get Hudson, our 13-year-old, out of the house, right? So his community now lives in a box around the Xbox. He goes to school on Zoom. His friends are all online, and he's connecting. But to get him outside then takes him away from this dopamine hit of, scrolling on TikTok or talking to friends and laughing. And then there's also how that affects my wife when she sees a kid who just sits in front of a screen or screens all day and doesn't have any in-person connection, right?
Mhm.
We moved here when there's no school, so it's not like we have 50 kids in this neighborhood where you can just go and start making friends and hanging out. That's just not his nature. So it's helped us redefine how we view connection and what does it look like for him. Like, he could be the zeitgeist of his generation and having this ability to build and form relationships online. But this past weekend, when we got on the horses and he took to it like a fish out of water, and I'm watching Meredith, who just looks great in her like suede jacket and her cowboy hat, right?
Oh,
Oh, it was just
how cute!
funny. And so where we are in Central Coast is just fucking gorgeous. It is unbelievably beautiful up here. And so we're taking the horses down with our guide, Tyler, and we end up on this creek bed that's been dry for like 3 years. It's really sandy, and the horses open up a little bit. And as we turn into this creek bed and I see it, and the sun's setting, right, it's around 4:30 in the evening. It feels like evening, it's probably late afternoon. The sun is, orange and coming through these trees, and it's like these beams of light with the dust and the pollen and everything. They're almost tangible, like you could just grab them. And I'm on this horse just sitting there and just like, oh, is this heaven? Like, it was just so beautiful. I had all the chills, and I knew energetically that we were exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, which is just still and quiet and just present, if even only for a second. And without the pandemic, that would not have happened, right?
Wow.
Without this forced slowdown, without this forced introspection, I don't know that we would have gotten there, because we would have been busy doing something else, or Meredith would have been teaching yoga somewhere, and I would have been doing something, and Hudson would be doing something else. It wouldn't have been available to us. I don't know how long we're going to stay here. Right? This is not our forever home, right? So we just view this as like we're riding out the pandemic in Central Coast. But while we're here, I want to enjoy it. And it's this connection to earth energy that didn't exist before for me that does exist now. And I'm really incredibly grateful for all of that.
I have also been gifted time and space, and I love it. So it has very much affected me as well. And it's been so wonderful that I've been forced to slow down, hence the time and the space that I now have, that I don't want to go back. It's
Right.
been very eye opening and very relieving. And for the first time in a long time, I actually started giving myself permission to play games on my
Mm.
phone, because I was like, before I was like, inefficient and I got other things to do. There are better things to do than stay on the phone and play games. So, I never did. And now it's like I do things for joy. And I didn't do that before. I lost that
Hmm.
because it was all about the future. I was very future minded and making money and, purpose and all that. That hasn't changed. I'm still future minded, but I sit more in the moment now. And I think it's a beautiful COVID gift. It really is. It's a great side effect. I sit in the moment, and there are some days. I remember the first day this happened. I think it was Easter Sunday. This is the first time I had this awareness that I was gifted this. It was Easter Sunday. I had been invited by my best friend, Andrea, who lives in Virginia, or she works in DC. She'd invited me to a game night, a virtual game night on Zoom, where she had some interactive games. She invited her whole family, which I know very well, and then uh, that was the only thing I had to do on Easter Sunday. And I remember waking up and just being like, you know what? I just want to stay in bed and enjoy the day. I was slow to move. I was slow to even make the coffee. 4 o'clock came around. 4 o'clock Pacific is 7 o'clock already on the East Coast. That was evening for her. It's still afternoon for me.
Hmm.
And went to the game night, and it was so fun. And there was connection, even though it was over the internet. And I was just like, that was a good day. And I'll never forget that day, because I did what I wanted and just moved slowly. It was almost like I gave myself a little vacation, right? And all of that has led to my questioning of, what do I want for myself? Because I'm 41 years old. I am transitioning in career eventually. I'm going from teaching English and homeschool high school to teaching about things in spirituality and coaching and things like that. So I know that's happening. I knew that was happening before, but now I know it's happening. I know it's not on fire, so I don't have to get to it right now, and I can still stop and enjoy the moments, and also think about, what do I really want? How much do I really want to work? Because I want to gift myself time all the time. My business coach, Adrian Brambilla, I found him on TikTok during the pandemic. He is now my business coach. I love him very much. And he has taught me through his videos that the reason he has the lifestyle he does is because he's tired of working so hard. He wants to gift himself time. Time is really something you can't buy,
Right.
you know? And so that's changed everything for me. And now I'm slowly coming to this realization of who I am. I am if you told me I would be in like a program getting some mental support with a therapist right now and loving every minute of it, I would have told you you're a liar, because that was not the pace or the lifestyle. Like last year at this time, it was like I couldn't stop working. I couldn't just stop. And I actually, this time last year I was in England, but even that was a hard trip because I felt like I was letting people down by asking off for so much time so I could go to England to see my old friends and hang out in the countryside and everything. But now it's like totally different. My new reality is one where I meet my needs, I care for myself, and I can still do that and live a pretty awesome life and still care about others.
It feels really good, like energetically. Like I'm just,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel good energetically, that's for sure. But you know what? I will complain. Can I complain for just a minute? It's okay to complain. I'm a
yeah.
human, right? Right. With this new mental health thing that I've been going through, my mental transitions, I am ready to date. And damn it, I can't date during the COVID pandemic. I refuse to do it. You don't know who's out there, you know? I mean, and honestly, I mean, if you kind of look at the attitude that people have with masks and the versus the attitude people have with condoms, there's a big connection there. No,
Like
I'm not
mass
saying,
pro-life, right? I mean, yes.
I mean, I don't know your experience as a male, but my experience as a female with, being single pretty much all my life, never been married or anything. And, I've had relationships, whatever, but, the condom debate comes up sometimes. And I see that the mass debate, that I see some threads of
Mhm.
similarity. But, and just on the surface, just going out to have dinner with someone. I mean, we're shutting down the restaurants tomorrow. And then, if you actually like the person, I mean, do you go get COVID tests like you would STD test or something? Like, what's the protocol now, Chris?
Well, I suspect that we'll have like pretty instantaneous testing available to us in the next couple of months, right?
Okay,
But taking a step back from that, you know how to cook.
true, but do I want a stranger at my house? I mean,
No, you
seriously,
meet outside.
like,
You go to a park. There's tons of space where we live. There's tons of
very
space for
true. And who says that I have to have any physical contact on a date?
only when you
maybe,
want to.
maybe I'm just trying to expedite things, but still. Uh, but I'm ready to be connected again with people, and go out with men again. And I mean, I'm not frustrated or anything, but it is a thought. It's like, oh, like I'm ready to go, but I don't think the world is yet. So I'm okay with holding it, but time is
You
ticking and I'm ready.
still have to put it out there, right?
Yeah.
You still have to say it,
Mhm.
right? And when you bring words to it, right, and then it exists. So then it's just a matter of when and where. Um, now the opposite of that would be for those of us that are married and all of a sudden have coworkers that we never had before. That can lead to some complexities as well. My battle over the past couple of weeks is like, holy shit, can I just have some time to myself?
Yeah.
Like I was like, who do I have to suck off to get like an hour, right? To be able to just go, not be bothered with anyone. And and so I've had to, I've had to work on that because there's what Hudson needs, whether he's able to articulate it or not. He needs to spend time with me outside of the house, lifting weights, talking shit, like, whatever, right? Walking the dogs, a la hike, and having that level of connection. And then the connection with Meredith, who is very much a connector and needs that and is working on her own self. Um, and then this illusion of not having time. Right. And it can be a very tangible thing. It's like, okay, I'm working, I'm on nothing but phone calls. Everybody needs something. Okay, I need to go to the, okay, can't go to the bathroom because this other person needs something, right? And it's just this, am I just being busy just to be busy? Am I saying yes to activities I don't have to say yes to? Um, Putting time on my calendar to block it off is something that I do, but then eventually my team learns that when I say it's a workout, the workout is kind of optional, right, in their minds. So it's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't really need to work out. And this comes back to the horse riding moment where when I'm doing or not doing when I'm in something that is on purpose, that is aligned with my highest good, then the time doesn't matter. And there, I would suspect at some point, most of us have experienced this flow state or when time just disappears. You're writing or dancing or singing or performing or like, doing some inner work for someone. And you have these reference points that exist. As I told Meredith, and I think I shared this with you over the weekend, I've never been in that state. I've never been in that state where time just disappears when I've been busy doing something, right? It's always because I've slowed down and I'm just tuned into myself. And I'm not sure where the connection is to your experience where you're ready to date. But yesterday, and I had like a small window to get my workout in, like between 3 and 4 o'clock, and then all of a sudden the cow guy, the meat man, wanted to drop off the box of steak between 3 and 4 o'clock. Meredith took Hudson to his CrossFit personal trainer between 3 and 4. And she comes home, she's like, "We have the house to ourselves for an hour. We should have sex." And I was like thinking of all the things that I had to do, and I was like, "Yes, let's do that." Now,
Oh,
it
fun.
sounds like that'd be an easy thing to say yes to, right? But it wasn't.
No, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
It's like, because I need time for myself. I need to get a workout in. The meat man could show up at any minute.
Wait a minute. All three of those things just happened by saying yes.
Hey,
Hey.
come here, meat man.
Get your workout on.
Yes.
You got stuff to do.
Yeah, right. And it's this this reflection. It's kind of like meditation, right? And I know this is something that's in your wheelhouse. When we talk about like, am I doing it right? Because you can sit there, it's like then you can't even like get past your own breath because it's like, okay, like your breath stops being an auto reflex, and then it's like, oh, you got to breathe in, breathe out. What if I forget to breathe? And then it's like, holy shit, I wonder if that new Rolling Stones album is going to come out anytime soon, or like, whatever comes into your brain. And it's those little moments where you do catch yourself, where you are thinking about the hedgehog that you saw dead on the street 3 days ago, and it comes back, and you do bring yourself back. So there's this continuous improvement in awareness and being able to react or not react accordingly, that I'm super grateful for. I think it's going to be a long winter, right? I mean, we have
Agreed.
vaccines that are coming, but who knows what that's going to look like. We do have adults in the room again, which is fantastic. So I have confidence that we have enough smart people looking at these things and trying to solve problems. But nothing's going to happen between now and March, right? I don't think that that's the case. Could be wrong, but we have to settle in. And people are going to die. People are going to suffer. We're 250,000 people down right now.
People are going to resist.
Maybe less so than they were before, but I think the resistance will be different than it was 8 months ago. There's an evolution or a progression, or a deepening or a widening. It's not going to be the same resistance. It's going to be progressively different than what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And because nothing's linear, right? There's no progress in that sense. And no shortage of places and people to go help and to be of service. So I don't want to make light of this or just say, hey, it's a divine teacher. This is how we all opted in. We all chose we're going to learn this lesson, when we came into this expression. But I do find it really, really helpful for myself to take a longer term view and to take like a 300-year perspective. And I know that this is way the fuck out there, but this is something I've been noodling on for some time. And like, okay, here's where we are. Right. And let's face it, coronavirus could have been a lot worse than what it is. It's awful, and this could have been like an epically awful movie style Armageddon situation. And it wasn't. That could still happen if we don't have the right processes in place in the next 5 to 10 years. So we have an opportunity to take our licks um, and apply our learnings to the situation. So the only thing we can control is ourselves. And my actions and my desire and willingness to have a very examined experience is not something that would have been possible to me like 5 years ago. Right. It's not where I would have been, and it would have been awful. But what I can do is document a lot of this, share it with people that ask for it, right, or just leave it to my kids. Um, but what I want to, how I've mind fucked myself on all of this is, what do I want this to look like if I get reincarnated and I come back, in 200-300 years? What kind of an experience do I want to have, or where do I want this to be? And so to think through the foundation that I can help lay down and out for my kids, great grandkids. That's where I'm at right now. And but it all just comes back to being able and willing to search inside of myself.
Absolutely. Well, where I'm at right now is I'm accepted, and I even if it were another year, I don't want to say if it would be hard or not. I just want to say that I would just be. I'm going to roll with it, and I'm going to continue to look inward, because the person that I'm meeting, which is me, is becoming more clear and more beautiful every day.
Mm.
And the connection that I'm establishing with her is priceless. And when this whole thing is said and done, it's going to be quite, I don't want to say comeback, because I don't think I went anywhere, but quite the rejuvenation, quite the phoenix moment, quite the rebuild, or quite the, I don't know, vibration. Quite the force, I hope. Definitely. But all I know is I want to continue to get to know myself and just kind of exist and see what happens from there. And I don't think that I can be faulted for that by myself, my own guilt, or anybody else. It feels right. It feels good. And that's what I'm doing.
Your smile is different.
Agreed. Funny you should notice. My smile has been different over the past month, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are definitely on the ups for me. And I will tell you, you're also different. Your face is a lot more relaxed
Mm.
than before. It's like, I don't know, before you were a little stiffer in the face, like a little more clenched.
It's funny. You should notice that. I
Yeah.
was on a I was on a conference call today, and I was like, wait, I'm like, my eyes are like, why am I like that? Like, what does it feel like when I just relax my eyes? And it was different. And so we can go off on a tangent around an ayahuasca. One of my experiences that I've had, where this tree gave me this very visceral experience of how to just let go. We should do that actually.
Yes, we should.
Um, but like I didn't know how to just let go. And
I'm
it's ongoing, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm still working on it.
yeah, but I mean, you've seen it, and you and I have worked together where you've helped me with it. And it's like, oh, like, 'cause you told me the other day to like relax behind my eyes. I'm like, what is it? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, how do I relax behind my eyeballs? And it's like, was where we carry tension and what we're hanging on to.
That's my
Uh,
favorite place to relax, to be quite honest. Someone told me that years ago, and now I make sure everybody else does it because I want everybody to feel that. It's nice.
No idea it existed.
Yeah.
Right. But 47, still learning. So we're around an hour. So I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you a question. What are you thankful for?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm thankful for so many things. How much time we got again?
Right. A couple minutes.
I mean, it would be very cliche and passive of me to be like, "Oh, I'm grateful for everything," but I'll do a top 10 list, maybe, right?
Okay.
So first and foremost, I'm thankful for me. I'm thankful for the body that I live in and the health that I experience. I'm thankful for the abilities that I have. And I'm thankful for the people around me that make me even better. I'm thankful for you, Chris, for sure. I did not expect to meet someone like you and someone who feels like my spiritual partner in all of this, and someone who is very trusting and believing in me and also what we are creating together. I'm very grateful for all of that. I am grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my mother. She is still here and in relatively good health. She has had a wild year. That's another topic, health wise. And she's, I'll summarize it. I think she had COVID last December or a really bad flu for like 3 to 4 months, and all she did was hack. Then she got shingles, and the shingles, because her immune system was wrecked, hung around for 3 or 4 months, and it was
Oh,
absolutely a nightmare for her nerve wise. And then she broke both of her feet at the same time. It's been wild for her. So I'm thankful that she has gotten through it because it has been very difficult for her. And she continues to grieve my father. I'm thankful for my father, even though he's not here anymore, and all the wonderful things that he did for me and the great childhood that I have. I'm thankful for my sister still being local so that I always have the opportunity to have the life that I want. She actually has a life where she assists my mom and does things for her. And, I haven't, maybe I should be taking care of my mother a little more, but I haven't been able to or haven't chosen to. And I'm thankful for my brother being his pure self and always a joy for me, and my nephew and this is getting long now, my nephew and my brother-in-law, my grandparent, all of my grandparents minus one, he's already passed, but they're all still alive. See, it's about connection, yourself and the people around you. What about you, Chris? What are you thankful for?
it's a hell of a list.
I know. I kind of got carried away. And I was like, wait a minute, I got to stop. So, I had to put the brakes on it. We don't have much
Okay,
time.
okay, Susan Lucci, you won. That's it.
I get the award.
I'm grateful for myself. I'm in awe of myself for sure.
True that.
Um, the humility attached to it is probably not something that existed before. And it was, well, I guess that would be the opposite of narcissism, would be a better sense of place. Um, and coherence. All these things, Meredith, Hudson, Holden, Zachary, my mom, my dad, my in-laws, my ex-wife, my friends, my coworkers, my team, my employees, Kingston, Bailey. It's I am most thankful for these reference points that exist where everything is perfect.
Beautiful.
And even if it's just for a second, to know that it's there and to be in a place, in a position in my life where when it happens, there's an awareness of it, and bringing that experience into this experience. And when it's happened, just being in awe of all of it. Heaven on earth.
That's wonderful. It makes me think about those moments that I have. Maybe I've not been as mindful.
Well, I have 6 years on you,
Yeah,
right? And
very
where you are
true.
41 is different than where I am at 41. I, yeah, it's plenty of topics for other podcasts, but I'm just so grateful for this sort of freedom.
Mm. And everyone listening, what are you thankful for? It doesn't matter if you're American or not. What are you thankful for? Like truly deep down. Chris, it's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, Christina.
I'm grateful as well.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.